Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, former Kentucky State Representative.
They're asking me about everything, local, state, federal, all the time. How do I do this? How do I do that? Why can't I get a speed hump? What's going on with the consent decree? Hey y'all, welcome to Ask Attica. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Ask Attica with my very special guest, return guest, Shreeta Walden. Welcome back, Shreeta.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, always. So, y'all, we're going to break down last Tuesday's primary elections here in Kentucky. Y'all know every time Sharita and I get together, it's a time. If you have any comments, questions, make sure you put them in the chat. And our producer, Stay Live Streams, Maxwell Mitchell, is paying attention to make sure that he gives us any questions or comments y'all might have. As always, thank you to Black Coffee for the opportunity to host Ask Attica here at the Goodwill Opportunity Center. So, how you doing today, Shreeta?
I am doing good, and I'm so glad you asked me to do this because I've been sitting with a lot of things, and so I'm so glad I was able to come out and have this chat with you.
I'm glad. So we're gonna have a conversation, and in fact, I might just go ahead and turn it over to you before I go. You know me, I've got the races out. I want to go through each one and break it down, but you probably have some opening comments. So I want to go over to you first.
So yes, so you want me to take this? Okay. So when you reached out, I have been sitting with like my thoughts. And I think I'm holding space for a lot of things. So there's some joy and excitement for seeing a lot of people that look like me step in. People, first timers, right? In 2022, no, that was 2024.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was my first time stepping in. So that energy around people wanting to see real change. The reason why I say that it's exciting because these are also people who are boots on the ground doing work in community, right? So I was happy about that.
Okay.
At the same time, I was holding frustrations and I took notes. Um, I want to say some of the first things that came up for me was this election. It taught us something, all of us. And if we pay attention, what I took from this is less about the candidates and more about relationship with power,
Okay.
right? And what we are seeing here.
Okay. Talk about that a little bit more, though.
Yeah, let's go deep. So when I talk about that relationship with power, I'm going to change my page. We put a lot of emphasis, and when I say we, a lot of community folks, because one thing you do differently is you teach, right? You try to educate us on what local politics look like. At the same time, there's not enough.
Right.
So you're just one person. And I don't think it's fair that one person is the one to carry that very large message of what does it mean to hold the kind of power that our elected officials have. So what we do know is that I had a quote here that I wrote down because I knew I would forget. Yes, democracy. A lot of people talk about democracy, especially when we're chanting and we're out, we're protesting. Democracy is not, just our ballots that we cast. The ballots that we cast is actually the beginning of accountability.
Yes.
It's actually where we start to say, now we put this person in the position of power.
That's right.
Now, what do we expect? And that's where I saw the miss. There's a gap there. There's a gap with why I am electing this person. Why did I cast this vote in this way? And is it connected to my frustration in community? Is it connected to my frustration with housing issues, with violence, with the data centers that everyone's talking about? Is it connected to the policing in our community and the direction that Louisville is going in? And that's where I feel like the miss is. Okay. So we have a lot of people we saw on these ballots that were passionate and they care, but do they know how to govern? Do they know how to balance the budget? Do they know how to center equity? Do they know how to make sure that communities are not being divested from resources? And we're is this stuff people know? So that's why I said it's exciting. It was a lot of energy around it, seeing new faces. I held an event at Vocal in collaboration with Jennifer Twyman, asking candidates. I sent a big blast out, and I had candidates drop out because it wasn't a space where a lot of powerful people would be. I made sure to put that it's the community. Yes. These are houseless folks, first-time voters. And I told every candidate that showed up, except there was one that I did not like her comments. But every candidate that showed up, I said, because you did show up and you engaged in authentic conversation, because we didn't give them questions to prepare. And we didn't tell them that they were going to come in and we're going to ask you to speak for 30 to 60 seconds. But they showed up and they engaged in community activities by helping to make Narcan kits and having conversation with folks that they normally wouldn't be. So this was a different kind of town hall. I said, I would rather put every one of you all in any position in this city before electing someone who turned down the invitation simply because they didn't know what was going on. And one candidate had the nerve enough to say, well, I don't know much about your organization. And I thought, how interesting. Why wouldn't they investigate?
Right.
Why wouldn't they look up?
Before showing up.
Before, right? And let's not negate the elephant in the room. One of the mayoral candidates is actually an executive director of the collaborating organization. I would think I would be intrigued, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you say, wait a minute, how are they even partners? So why throw that back? So again, I'm sitting here like frustration because there's folks who are rallying behind people. Yes. And they don't understand what their policy stances are, what their positions are. So that's how I wanted to start this.
Well, so, and before we take a break, I will say a few things. One, far too many candidates don't even have policy positions or platforms, right?
Right.
They don't even have it until they get pushed, right? Because I know I've run enough times where they didn't even have something on their website. I did, right? For my campaign, the other people in the race had nothing except pictures, right? And give me some money. So people, until they start demanding more and say, well, where do you stand on X, Y, Z?
There it is.
Then they're like, oh, maybe I should. Because here's the thing, you talk about political power specifically. We all have some form of influence and power.
We do.
Sometimes we don't know how to use it. Sometimes we don't even want to acknowledge it. Maybe it makes us afraid. But we all have levels of influence and power.
But I think we know that.
Okay.
And I can't wait to come out because I want to circle back to that demanding piece. That takes us naturally and organically into that part of the conversation.
Okay, we'll come back to that. And then the other thing I want to close with is frustration. So I understand your frustration. I also want to share some numbers, y'all. So how many Kentuckians actually voted in the 2026 primary election, which was last Tuesday, May 19th. So how many people could have voted? 3,365,369. 3 million plus. How many actually voted? 863,950. Yeah. So how many did not vote? 2,501,419. Voter turnout. 25.67% of eligible voters actually bothered to vote. 74.33% did not bother to vote at all in last Tuesday's primary election. So 1 out of 4 Kentuckians actually voted in last Tuesday's election. 3 out of 4 did not. So frustrating? Absolutely. So we're going to come back, y'all, in just a couple of minutes to continue our conversation with Shreeta Walden about the primary election results last Tuesday, May 19th.
Through every note, every performance, the arts connect us. The arts connect us through joy and through awe, bridging cultures and generations. From intimate theaters to the grandest stages, the arts bring us together, reminding us that we're never truly alone. When we experience the arts, We experience each other. Kentucky Performing Arts. The arts connect us.
Louisville, it is our chance to change the direction and to make it better. We deserve better. We get there together.
This is brought to you by the people to elect Shamika Parrish Wright.
And we're back. Thank you for joining me with my very special guest, Shreeta Walden, as we break down last Tuesday's primary election results in Kentucky. So, Shreeta, you wanted to come back to a point, and then we'll get into the actual results.
Yes. So I think it was important what you hinted that word was triggering, because I feel like on social media, and even some in-person engagement in social spaces, there's a lot of frustration and demands. But again, I think lack of knowledge and people understanding the connection to what you're frustrated about and the people in power, the people who make decisions. So people talk and vent around all of the issues I named, but they're failing to ask the question or even reflect on themselves and how they're complicit. Who was sitting in the room? Who is holding the seat, and who is responsible for the decisions? And that, to me, is the demand of community. If you're going to be frustrated, if you're going to be upset, the space to take that out in a more efficient and productive way is when we go and participate in elections. So I am absolutely frustrated that I've seen all the way up to the day of election frustration around the budget cuts with Jefferson County Public School, the data centers, proposed locations in historically Black communities, the concerns around the budgets for the upgrades that are being done downtown by the mayor. All of the issues, the housing issues, the increase in violence, lack of gun regulations, because gun control and regulations are two different things to me. All of these issues, yet the numbers don't add up. It's not mathing. Because if you're frustrated and you can scream about it on social media, why not do something where you can actively be a part of it? We know, we know that our voice matters, and that when we show up in numbers, that we can flip things. And as you're going to go into the candidates, right, we're going to see that there are areas where we see some real potential, right? But I'm concerned about that.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk about it. So I do want to say before we get into this that I'm very appreciative of the folks who follow Ask Attica and Civics in 60, because they've said to me, you helped me to prepare to vote. I had some young people, especially young Black men, who were like, this is my first time voting. Can you tell me about XYZ candidate, right? Or how's this process going to work when I go vote? That's so important that they had somewhere to go. I pushed a button. I think we're still okay. Our producer's giving us a thumbs up. We're still good. And so, I, of course, didn't tell people who to vote for in most cases, and some, of course. But I did say, this is what I know about each candidate to make an informed decision. And then I would send them a link for more information. Say, here's the KFTC, Kentuckians for the Commonwealth Voter Guide. Go check that out to dig a little bit deeper, for example. So I do want to say just thank you to folks who tuned in, who shared. The state legislature made some changes, quite a few changes actually, to the way that we vote. Some went into effect immediately, like turning over the names of people who are not eligible to vote but may still be on voter rolls.
Right, I saw that. And that was kind of confusing for me. Being, again, I always say I'm doing this space. Every year I learn more and more around election time.
Yes.
In different areas of elections that we participate in. So why did that happen like that? Just you share a little knowledge with me.
Absolutely. So to start, if someone's dead, they're not voting. So there's no urgency to remove their name from the voter rolls. Just FYI. Secondly, the Secretary of State made it very clear that there may have been 20, literally 20 people who were not supposed to vote who tried to vote in the last election. 20 out of the 3 million plus who were eligible to vote.
20 people.
Right. So we didn't need whole legislation for that. And then there's some issues that will go into effect next year, but I wanted people to be aware now because it
Yes.
passed with this legislative session. There were some issues that were considered emergencies and then others that will go into effect next year. Now, I know people think we only have elections every 2 years,
Right.
but next year we're going to have a race for a governor and
Yes.
all 5 constitutional offices.
Yep.
So there's a reason why they want some of these other pieces to go into effect.
Yeah.
One of those other pieces is actually saying you cannot use as a secondary form of ID, a backup ID, what you've been able to use forever.
Okay.
A social security card and your food stamp card. Backup. It's not primary, which people miss that point. You know, you always have the haters who intentionally miss things.
Right.
They miss the point where I said backup ID because there are people who, like my grandmother and granny, never learned how to drive.
Right.
So they never had a driver's license. But they had their social security card, they had their food stamp card, and they
Right.
could use those as backup forms of ID. So I just want to put that out there that next year, 2027, is when that will go into effect. Then, of course, we have, and we'll talk about this more towards the end after we go through the list of offices, we have the entire school board of Jefferson County being demolished.
I saw that.
District,
I saw that the other day.
listen, districts redrawn, and now we're going to have to vote for all new people on our November ballot because now we've gone from 7 school board members to 5 for Jefferson County Public Schools, the largest school
Wow.
district in the Commonwealth of
I-
Kentucky,
question.
over 100,000 students. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what my thought is real quick, because I'm in school heading into my second year in my PhD program for forensic psychology, and I just don't think that we're seeing a coincidence. So I want to back it up a little bit. Do you remember? Oh, right. Do you remember when our governor, announced about the juvenile detention center coming back in Jefferson County? And he made it very clear that this time around, and I am not quoting him word for word, so you have to look it up, but he did say it and it's recorded. He made a point of saying that they're going to make sure that they have psychiatric nurse practitioners available to support our youth that are detained in those detention centers. That happened, last year sometime in 2025. And then we have a $2 million budget cut from mental health and JCPS. And then what happens this week? I see the news about cutting down from 7 to 5 board members. I said, I don't think it's coincidence that they are divesting funds from here to upload them in our corrections because the youth are so violent. And how do I justify that? Have you noticed the media's attention on these teen takeovers and the teens' increased violence and the use of language that I don't like, which is absolutely incorrect? There's no such thing as youth violence. Violence is violence.
Right.
There's no such thing as a young person just going to be violent.
Yes. I feel that way about police.
Yes.
They love to say police involved shooting.
Yes.
It's police violence. It was a police.
violence. It's a police shooting. It's
Yeah.
a shooting
Right.
that was happening. And yes, police. So why do we?
Why don't
word
you say
things?
youth involved shooting?
Exactly. So when I think about these things, I'm like, these are all in preparation. As you're saying, this change, you may not see the evidence of why right now, but next year. And this is what we lack. We lack this in our constitutional law classes in high school. Like, I didn't understand any of this and definitely didn't understand gerrymandering. The fact that my ballot looks so significantly different all the time, and I'm not supposed to have a problem with that. Or the fact that you all make me feel like I can't fight against the fact that why can't I vote in other districts? I'm like, why couldn't we make? There are things that we could do if we came together and really understood how to push for it.
Yes.
Right? So yeah, I just wanted to hop in there because I think that people don't see the connections of when things change. That juvenile detention center media blast when he went and did a press conference prepared us for what we're seeing today.
That's right.
And so
Well, and even to your point about being able to do things differently, yes, Lexington has had nonpartisan mayoral and city council races for years. The difference is, one of the differences is that they also have at-large city council seats. We don't have that, right?
Right.
So that's another opportunity for representation. So I'm going to take a break, or we'll take a break and come back and get right into the ballot. There's so much that we've had to
Really started off.
start it out. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to take a break and we're going to come back and we're going to go through the ballot.
Okay.
Okay. All right, y'all. See you back here in just a little bit.
Hey guys, before we get back to the live stream, I'm Tracy, the bartender at Southern Hospitality Bar and Grill, located at 3402 West Broadway. You guys got to come and check us out. You can call your order in, and the phone number is 502-822-1474. Again, I'm Tracy, the bartender at Southern Hospitality. Come check us out, guys.
Through every note, every performance, the arts connect us. The arts connect us through joy and through awe, bridging cultures and generations. From intimate theaters to the grandest stages, the arts bring us together, reminding us that we're never truly alone. When we experience the arts, we experience each other. Kentucky Performing Arts. The arts connect us.
All right, y'all, welcome back. Listen, this all fruit smoothie from Black Coffee it's the bomb, okay? It's all that and a bag of chips. I should have got some chips, some Grippos to go with it, right? That would have been something. All that and a bag of chips, everything. So get you one of these all that fruit smoothies from Black Coffee. And what did you have?
Or a Black Boy Joy. Yes, with oat milk.
Yes.
It is a specialty of mine. I'm not going to tell you how sweet it is. It's none of your business. But when I say it's the bomb here, it is. You got to try it.
So I hear that's supposed to be coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I'm like, coffee with oat milk and sweet. I guess it's a thing, right? Why do I know? All right, so we're gonna jump right into the ballot, y'all. Too bad y'all can't hear us in between during the commercial breaks because our producer has got all these Ask Attica jingles. So if y'all want to submit a jingle for Ask Attica, y'all go ahead and send that to Stay Live Streams, and we'll see what comes out on top.
If you do it, I will get you a black coffee drink and meal.
What? Did you hear
let
that?
Me know if they do it, please. Please, you guys.
At Shreeta Walden on the socials just said, if you create a jingle and it's the jingle that we say that we like and we want to go with, she's got you at Black Coffee.
Yep.
So write that down and wait, by when? Let's see. Today is Friday. By Juneteenth. And we are actually going to do a voter registration drive on Ask Attica on Juneteenth, that Friday. So you got to show up here at Black Coffee at the Goodwill Opportunity Center, register to vote if you're not already registered to vote. If you are a young person or you have a young person in your life who is 17 but will be 18 on or before November 3rd, they can vote on November 3rd, so they can get registered as well. So that'll be from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. on Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth right here. Submit your jingle by that date, and then we'll make a decision, and then afterwards you'll get your meal from Black Coffee. We just listen. That's how it works here on Ask Attica. All right, let's get into it. Okay, I'm looking here at my sample ballot. We're gonna start at the top with United States Senator. Let's talk about it. So now we've got, coming out of the primary, Charles Booker and Andy Barr. Let's talk about it.
Do you have a question for me in regards? Because I want to be very, and no, I'm not being politically. I don't play that.
Right, I know.
But
okay. Reflections on the outcome. Let's do. I don't like predictions because I just think that's BS. We don't need to be predicting who it will or will not win. Let's be honest.
Let me be honest and transparent, because if you notice, I didn't take a picture of that one and show no one. There's two individuals I saw on here. So Charles Booker and Pamela Stevenson. I have a hard time, Attica, with performance.
Okay.
I am a trained thespian.
Okay.
So I love to perform, but I have a hard time with performance. And when I say that, I'm not talking about those who are like, you talking about Stevenson. No, I think that she is very animated and I think she's energetic.
Yes.
And I like that energy. When I say performance, I mean when people are already in positions of power and you're not operating in a way that I believe, from my own walk, my lived experience, that is adequately supporting the community's needs in which you serve. So at a state level, you're not supporting certain policies and legislations, or you're on committees and you're participating with the governor on different activities like state opioid abatement funds, and you're working with faith-based communities. I struggle with the fact that I never heard about them, that I only see you on Hot Topics, and that is Charles Booker. I like both individuals, but when it came down to who's showing up in a way where I see the community impact of the work trickle down from state down to local, I just couldn't see it. Now I know that he's in the front running now, and I think I have an opportunity to push and press.
Yes.
So I see it as an opportunity to see, okay, if I want to support you, so I have a plan, and that's to organize with folks like you and talk through my decision and why I'm struggling. Because I'm also, I think I'm really tunnel vision, because that's a larger position. U.S. Senate is understanding, which in here, understanding whose position operates what decisions. That's where I have a gap of misknowledge, because I think that sometimes I put a lot on a position, like I did with the Kentucky Drug and Alcohol Board. I went in there ready on fire, like, hey, you all have not done this. I'm a board member now. I'm a board member now. And when I started learning the tape and knowing what was ours and what's not, I was like, oh, that's why things. So I think I'm open. I'm not resistant. But I wanted you to understand why I voted the way that I did. I voted for Pamela Stevenson because I've been in spaces with her. I do think I don't know enough about her, but I want to be confident and I want to help push our efforts forward with the candidate that's in front, if that makes sense. How does that sound?
I appreciate your honesty because
That was very vulnerable and transparent. Don't y'all attack me.
right. But that's part of it, right?
Right.
Because people become so dogmatic and impractical,
Yes.
and sometimes political maturity is missing
Yes.
from the conversation, that they don't hear what you just said, which is, I am now going to push the candidate who is the front runner, who has come out of the primary, because I have the right from my own lived experience
There it is.
to do that.
Yes.
That was not my choice. That person was not my choice on the ballot for the primary, and now we're moving forward.
I appreciate that.
Right. So that's important.
And that's what I want to learn, because confidence is low, if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've been told there's been some training and guidance from our governor to Charles Booker, and that doesn't make me feel any more confident, especially watching how our governor moves and operates. So I want to know what we can do as we move forward. How do we engage and bring people to more local spaces and say, now we are watching you. What are you going to do? How are you going to oversee these other committees that you are responsible? How are you going to hear people when they are coming, next year around the springtime when we're going down to Frankfurt?
The legislative session.
Yes. What does that look like from your lens now? So, yeah, I'm curious, and I want to lean in. And this is what I want. I want to model what I'm asking our community to do. Demand people show up. Ballots have been entered. Now accountability is surfacing, and that's where we're at. So how do we hold these folks on both sides that are in the front? How do we hold them accountable, Attica? How do we do that now?
And you are making a point that I want to make sure is clear to folks.
Okay.
So you're talking about Charles Booker, who served as a state representative for
Yes.
one term. So he was in Frankfurt as a state representative and then worked for a period of time in the governor's office,
Yes.
right? And
Thank
is
you.
no longer there, but did work there at
Right.
one point. So I want to make sure people are clear
Thank
that that's where you're coming from with that perspective. And yes, we have time now between this moment in May, for last Friday in May, through Tuesday, November 3rd, to make sure that all our values and visions align,
Okay.
right? So that, like you said, having conversations with the candidate to say, listen, this is what I value.
Okay.
This is what I believe in. This is the vision I would like to see you take to Washington, D.C. as a U.S. Senator. And that's fair. You got between now and November 3rd to make that happen, right?
I would love between now and maybe Juneteenth, thinking of ways and maybe connecting with you over social media in the comments with folks, showing up here not just to register, but to learn that. Maybe having a sheet with what he is saying he wants to do, and inviting him into spaces, creating spaces that we can get folks who are at those higher levels to come into and say, we need you here. Not just at the big rally that's in the big center that's paid for.
That's right.
So,
No, that's fair.
you know.
And so June 19th, candidates, we will be here from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, registering people to vote.
I love that.
All right. So we talked about the U.S. Senate race. I want to talk about a House seat race that was not in our district here in Louisville, but it was the most expensive House race in the history of time. It was the Thomas Massey Ed Galrine race in Northern Kentucky.
So you start with talking to me about it.
I will.
Because I don't think that I was more intentional around that at all.
Okay, that's okay. I want to talk about it because here's the thing. Not we all know. I know from his policies, I could care less about a Thomas Massey, right? Who doesn't believe that people should eat,
Yes.
right?
And I've seen
Yes.
a lot of his
Yes.
the work and people's thoughts.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. What I feel like, especially people outside of Kentucky, fail to understand is that while many of us weren't hopeful for either one of the candidates, Ed Galrine is an insane man with one foot in the grave. So you got somebody who looks like the Crypt Keeper. I'm not even sure if he's going to make it through the whole term, who has now come out of the primary. Thomas Massey, the reason why he was getting so much interest from folks in Kentucky is because he was one of the few Republicans standing up against Trump. When it came to specific issues, not all,
Right.
but specific issues, right? So it wasn't our district. We weren't able to vote
Right.
in that race in Northern Kentucky, but a lot of eyes were on that race, right?
So tell me, this is why I like ask Attica. What should Kentucky be concerned about? And I think this helps us direct our energy and our complaints, right? What should we be concerned about when watching them run as we head towards November?
So a few things we should be watching. One is, I hope folks saw Andy Barr's political ads where he was talking about it's not a crime to be white or a sin to be white or a sin to be a man or a crime to be a man, and he hates DEI, right? So we need to be paying attention to that narrative and what he's trying to shape in our Commonwealth with that kind of language. It's very incendiary. It's very violent. And so we need to be real careful. And we also need to watch what he's trying to incite by saying it's not a sin or a crime to be white or a man. What he's trying to incite something, we need to be mindful and weary of that. In this Ed Galrine, Thomas Massey race, I believe that we as Kentuckians need to watch a couple of things. One, you had at one point Donald Trump and what's his name, Elon Musk, were trying to pretend like they weren't friends anymore. We all should have known better, right? That was just a game. So here they were trying to buy a Kentucky seat,
Right. I
right?
Saw that.
You had Trump endorsing Galrine, and then you had well, not in that seat, but in the Andy Barr race,
Right.
you had Trump endorsing Andy Barr. At one point, you had Elon Musk supporting who was the other guy? Oh, Nate Morris, the business person, right? And so then Trump was able to get Nate Morris to drop out at the last minute, and promise him an ambassadorship, right? So, he still benefits. But here we are. We need to be mindful that Trump had influence in that race, and the person he wanted to win ended up winning. The same with the Thomas Massey race. He found Ed Galrine. Nobody even had heard the man's name before, but he found him. He got him to run, and he ended up being able to get him to win.
Okay.
I believe as Kentuckians, we need to be deeply concerned about the involvement of Elon Musk and Donald Trump in our Commonwealth. We need to be deeply concerned about that.
I'm curious.
Okay.
I don't understand from that far-reaching why so deeply involved. Why are they so focused, hyper-focused? It seems weird to me that we are a focal point. Why is it? What do you think in just what you've been watching over the years, being a state rep, understanding the ebb and flow of politics? I also want to be careful. This is not normal politic fighting. We're living in a dangerous and not fear-mongering time, but very dangerous language and legislation time, this violent legislation, right? As we saw with the Dear Colleague letter from SAMHSA, right? The responses to the executive orders are actual violence. Look it up. This is political violence, using very abusive and controlling ways to change things that have been happening over decades. To support people's health and outcomes and public health efforts. So why though? Why Kentucky?
For a lot of reasons. Like I mentioned before, we've got a governor's race, and all 5 constitutional offices will be up for election in 2027, next year. So, of course, Trump wants that governor seat and those constitutional offices. He wants the Secretary of State that will hand over all the voter rolls to his Department of Justice whenever he says do it. And to Michael Adams' credit, even though he has not accepted my invite to be on the podcast, but to his credit, he has fought the Trump administration on those voter records. Literally, they're in court over those records. So that's something that's important to keep in mind.
If he really gets on here.
Right, exactly. But it's a conversation about elections to make sure people understand the changes that are happening, right?
Yeah. And you have a very, very large influence over a large audience.
Well, there are a couple, 2-3 white men who, including the director of Tark Ozzie, who has not accepted my invite to come on either. So there's something there with these white men who don't want to come on here. But okay. But the other is, of course, having whoever is going to be in the seat that Mitch McConnell was in for decades is important to Trump and his administration.
Yeah.
That's important to them.
That is.
As is. He is on this retaliation retribution tour. So anyone who has done or said anything against him, he's coming after them. And that's why he came after Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
He's like, you're getting out of the seat, and I'm going to get someone even worse into this seat.
Which is why I said this is different.
Exactly.
I know a lot of people say this. I don't know what they're thinking when they say it's no different. Right. But even though I was younger, much younger, even my voting history is very immature, right? I vote because I like. I don't recall the tension and the way things are going like this, or even hearing people historically reference, Bush and Reagan and Nixon, all these eras that we went through, very much racial undertones, but the attacks, very blatant, are so different. So I'm not gonna ever say this is the same. But thank you for that. That is helpful for me.
Absolutely. And I want us to take a break and come back and continue through the rest of our sample ballot. So thanks again, y'all, for tuning in to my conversation with Shreeta Walden as we break down the primary election results from last Tuesday, May 19th. And we'll see you back here in just a moment.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
We will not make excuses. We will make changes.
It is our duty. It is our duty to. We must love and support.
Does the mayor still plan to spend this money in the same way following this announcement? And if so, why does he think he has the authority?
We have nothing to lose.
I've been here every day.
We have nothing to lose but our chance. But our chance.
but our chance.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Ask Attica with my guest Shreeta Walden as we break down the May 19th primary election results here in Kentucky. We're mostly focusing on Jefferson County, Louisville, but we're talking a little bit about other places in Kentucky. So let's talk about county clerk. So that was a race with Roz Welch and David Yates. We know that the influences that be, both the governor and the mayor, made sure that they had someone running in that position that they wanted to elevate, right? And so David Yates was appointed to the position, even though he was at the time a sitting state senator, was appointed to that position when the previous county clerk passed away, died last year. So you want to talk about the county clerk race?
I think,
And I'll give this to you.
well, my thing is, I think, and most of my questions are going to come back to who should we be looking at and what should we be preparing for. I got an opportunity to really connect with Roz, right, and learn her values. And I'm going to tell you what really allowed me to lean closer when I submitted my letter to step away from the Democratic Party and my role. When we connected and she reached out, she was not trying to convince me to do anything else. And for me, that means a lot. I don't want anyone to convince me. And especially when you look like me, then I feel like your motives, and there's a feeling of manipulation there, because I don't think you understand my pain and my hurt.
That's right.
What I heard from her, and she leaned in and wanted to connect. I pulled back because I needed to sit with everything that was happening. But her desire to want to stay connected, despite, even though, because I had learned that my role was influential in some decisions being made when the former county clerk passed away, and there was a lot happening and people were reaching out, but I made this decision. So it wasn't even a please don't do it yet.
Right.
And I was like, that takes even more, because you could just be like, you can manipulate and kind of guilt me into. So I appreciated her and her team for responding to me differently, because I feel like in our community, that's not what happens. When we don't show up the way people want us to, they tend to turn their back. Every space that I've been in, I feel like Roz has been authentic about her stance. Even in those meetings at the Louisville, the Democratic Party, it wasn't so much that I felt like any other person wasn't being authentic. I just felt like I couldn't be in that space the way that I show up. So I feel like she's in the space, and I would love for her to have an opportunity to influence this position. Now that we're here at this point, my question is going to come back to you. What do we do now? Preparing for November with what we have in front of us.
Well, as we prepare for November, there aren't a whole lot of races that have someone else on the ballot to vote for in November. So some people are now so-and-so elect, right? You made a point, though, at the beginning of this conversation about accountability. Transparency, responsibility, all of it. So we still, oh, look at this. Councilwoman Parrish Wright is calling. But I'm going to have to,
She didn't call me back. I hope she see this. And you better call me back.
All right now. But we have the opportunity, not only between now and November, but after November, with whomever wins, to continue to show up.
So county
right?
clerk, explain to us, all of us, what all are the county clerks responsible for? That role, what decisions, the power? Because I think with me, I was trying to explain that to my son. It didn't happen. I was like, well, he was like, well, any, many, mighty, mo. And I was like, oh no. So please, if as quickly and as layman's as you can give us, what does this person do for us.
Absolutely. The county clerk does a lot. I even did a video
And
last
that's
year
the one
about
I'm
it.
gonna have to go back and search and see.
Yes.
Because I need to.
That's okay. It was one of my 60 seconds because I like to just give people
Yes.
enough to then go do your additional
Yeah,
research.
and it went
So
over.
that's okay. No, it's okay. So, but to your point quickly, the main area of responsibility for the county clerk is to be the person who manages our elections. You go to the county clerk's website to find out one, where you register to vote. Not only one, where, but how do you register to vote? Where can you show up if you want to show up in person, register to vote? Where your polling location is, which means where your polling location is where you go to vote. So there is a
the
lot.
DMV, are they also responsible for DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, or am I thinking about another position?
You're thinking about the other clerk.
Yes.
Yes.
See, look, you guys, we gotta know what these folks doing.
Yes, and I need to do
So,
a video about that one as well. So I will do one about
Please
that
do.
as well, because that was not on the ballot, and I don't want to confuse people.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the county clerk over elections manages our elections. When I think about that, and you're saying manage, so I think of manage of what I see my harm reduction program manager do, right? Overseeing the staffing, the hours. When I think about elections, are they also involved in any of the gerrymandering situations or the movement of whose place, district, and all that?
So the gerrymandering, the redistricting
Yes.
is all local and state level. So at the local level, that happens through Metro Council. At the state level, that happens through the state legislature. So when my district was cut in half, literally split in half, and we went from 3 representatives in the predominantly black west end of Louisville to 2, that was done by the state legislature.
So how can
And they also
'Cause
did
it's
the
state
school board.
representative.
Yes,
'Cause
state
it's the-
representative.
Oh.
Exactly. But they also did it with the school board because they are the body, the legislative body that redistricts when it comes to school board seats as well. Now for Metro Council, that happens at the local level. So Metro Council is responsible for redistricting. It's a lot for people to keep up with. That's why I try to do my Civics in 60 to educate folks about who makes decisions, how, and where. So I'll need to do one about that one as well.
and possibly with your producer putting a package together. Says all the 60, and honestly, working with KYHRC to put it on the platform for development and growth, along with our TIP program. It's a development and growth, especially for people. We could call it Ask Attica's Civics 101, where you have these 60-second, and in the titles. And the reason why I say that is because our young people. So, like I said, my son, he's 20. He was in there. He was by himself voting, but a lot of it was because he had to guess. Now he's closer to high school than me. He didn't learn a lot when it came to civics.
Yes.
So I think that's a tangible thing. That's not going to cost because your producer also contracts with us for this project. So
Well, look at that, our super producer. I love that idea
But I
of
think just
putting the
helpful.
Civics in 60 into a package for people.
package, and it
I
helps
like
because for
that.
me, now I can download and I can say, okay, I can learn and understand this, and we could possibly make a certificate for it so that people feel like I'm certified. I know you have the requirements and the expertise on it because of your position. So
I like that because I'm telling you, Shreeta, there are times when somebody's asking me like you just did, and I'm like, I've done a video about that. I've done a video about that. I've done a video
I
about
keep
that.
hearing it, and
So,
I'm
but then they have to dig through all the other videos I've done. So I like the package. Okay, so we'll explore that some more.
yes.
One more seat before we take a break and come back to the last half. Okay, let's talk about sheriff.
Talk about this one easily.
Okay.
To your point earlier, Attica, that a lot of people, and I don't know if this was on live or we were just getting situated. The sheriff, it was lacking information. Even when I just went to Google and I'm like, okay, tell me some things, some points. It was very vague and broad. And I'm concerned about that because, again, I know that connection, power, decision making, and it trickles down to community and the frustrations we have in community. So bringing it back to why we're here. I found it difficult to choose. I ultimately ended up with, I think I chose Breen.
Oh my goodness.
Um, listen, I'm gonna be honest. Or it was, I didn't. I took a
Did you take a
picture.
screen? I hope you took a screenshot of that one.
I think I did. No, I think it was one of the ones. I was still trying to figure it out.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to look at one of my notes because I want you to share what your thoughts, reflect on what your thoughts were about having these options first. And then I'm going to tell you who it was.
Okay. So we had three choices: Breen, Healy, or Yancey. Yancey's run before. He ran 4 years ago, and of course, obviously, did not win. The previous sheriff, who died last year as well, won. Y'all, these folks who are in office need people around them who love them enough to say when they are in a certain a physical health condition age, I love you, and it's time for you to sit down and go enjoy the golden years of your life. That's another story. I don't think they have enough people who love them to do that. So I was more familiar with Yancey because he'd run before. In fact, we'd, paths across 4 years ago when I was running for Congress and he was running for sheriff. So, and, familiar with he and his father's political work. Didn't know a thing about Breen or Healy. The only thing I knew about Healy was that he was the establishment's choice, right? And so, because he was the establishment's choice, he was David James's second. When David James was appointed to the interim sheriff's position, I just felt like I wasn't sure that that was someone who I could trust in the position of sheriff to do what I believe needs to be done when it comes to equity, justice, and fairness, right? Particularly for our for Black folks and for immigrants and refugees. So I ended up voting for Yancey because I was much more familiar with Yancey and had seen him running before because we were running at the same time. And he was not the establishment's pick. In fact, he was a shock to the system when he won.
So, what I found in my notes for Breen was that he seems to be one who does have the legal background, right? A former deputy. Don't seem to have a lot out there about his aggressive policing culture, right? I want to talk to people who I think I could have a conversation with when it comes to their thoughts on policing. But I'm gonna be honest. Is there an opportunity for me to engage with this office? And again, what are they responsible for? Why is this going to be so important to me? So I looked at what I was able to find on Healy and former law enforcement, traditional, ranking LMPD leadership. LMPD sucks. There's a lot that needs to be unpacked there. Looking at their policy and all the feedback I gave, which was a lot, on their policy that was very lengthy but very broad and self accountability. We hold each other accountable type thing. So I didn't feel comfortable with Healy. I'm not a big fan of David James at all. So it's that culture I didn't want to stick with. I understand what you're saying about Yancey. Yancey, yes, I thought the same thing but again, what's the connection to us? What do this position and what do we need to do to prepare for accountability now, knowing who's in the front? That's what I think needs to happen. But that's how I chose because it was lacking for all three. We were lacking this very firm. Okay, this is where they're going, and I think that's concerning to me too.
That's fair. And again, I did a video a couple of months ago about what sheriffs actually do, and they do a lot.
Okay.
When I tell you they do a lot, they do a lot. So yes, we need to super producer. We need to figure out this package idea of the civics in 60-second videos
'Cause it would be helpful.
creating like a package, an educational package for folks. We'll figure it out.
Good.
Right. As people are sending you jingles for Ask Attica. But yeah, so
So the high points, if you can give me like some really quick high.
well, so your question was, how can we make sure
Yes,
that
accountability.
the accountability is there? And what I will say is, we have the opportunity, I believe, with Yancey to get in his ear about law enforcement. because the
Okay.
sheriff is law enforcement. Get in his ear and say, listen, there are some lessons you should have learned in the past. Let's just say 6 years, right? Since the Justice for Breonna Taylor movement kicked off. We just honored her memory yesterday at Injustice Square and honored 6 years of that movement. And so we have the chance now to sit down and say, listen, you should have learned a lot in the past 6 years from that movement alone, right?
Yeah.
You've seen it. So because you've seen it, you should be clear that there are some things people will and will not put up with. There are some expectations that we have, and we need to go in with those expectations and say, and this is what we expect from the sheriff's office.
Okay, I think this is a place where I definitely want to dive, especially going into forensic psychology.
Ooh, yes.
Is so we will definitely follow up as I think of a strategy on how to connect. Because I need to know. So I'm
Yes.
definitely going to be looking for that video specifically.
Okay.
I come from law enforcement.
Yeah,
My family.
you do. Yes.
You know, and I come from black law enforcement, black Afrocentric,
Yes.
Black Panther Party member law enforcement. So I got this very strong background that a lot of people will just assume that I'm against. And I'm like, no, we live in a society where we are creating crime by divesting resources from communities. So we do need enforcement. Because we create it. We create the environment for it to be here. So I need to know that someone's going to come to my rescue if someone who's struggling with life decides they want to take something from me. So,
But does law enforcement really come to people's rescue?
let me be careful how I answer this. Because you got folks that are going to lean in. If I was to answer that as yes or no, and people want to hear some really black and white, to satisfy the ears of the masses who are very angry, I would say no. I would also say that I'm careful because there are situations where law enforcement, because we have very ugly laws of this land, we need it. If we're going to have it, we need to define what protection looks like under laws. The thing is, I don't like the laws. So if you're going to have them, how do we enforce it? If you have someone on a building with a long gun, hold it down and act as if they're doing target practice. And the law says there are protective measures they are to take when someone is a threat, an observable threat. My expectation is that you show up and you execute that law. You participate. I believe in that. When you don't do it, I have a problem. And that was my lived experience. Right. When someone is gunned down in front of me, someone runs and they actually shoot someone and kill them, execute them in front of me. And the law says you are supposed to immediately arrive and contain this area. I expect you to do it. What I don't expect you to do is over police and surveil my community while crime continues to rise. But I see a number of squad cars and surveillance units and surveillance activity in one centralized area, but that area continues to experience laws being broken. Don't make sense. So, no. What my expectation is that you do it. And if me getting with Yancey can help him see, I absolutely believe there is law enforcement needed. Community protection is different than law enforcement. Community can protect itself. Community can be coached on how to use guns and weapons properly. Why don't we have shooting ranges in our communities? Why are Black people afraid to talk about a gun range in our community? Do they not understand the connection of investment in community looks tremendously different when you look at other communities that actually have ranges in them and the people that invest in that.
Well, and part of it is because in some respects we're trying to eat and pay rent.
We are.
So
And it's all relative.
if it's all relative,
It's relative because when
but
you
is it
start-
necessarily a priority, right? For some people.
So it's a both and situation. This is the thing. We want to eat, we want food. We also have people who are Metro Council saints who go to that Kroger on 20 down here, down the street on Broadway and say that her own people, yes, her own people are wrong for stealing from this Kroger, who point out a flawed outcome of our system and look at us as the problem. So instead of investing in quality programming, if you're going to say you're going to do prevention, and everyone says we need gun laws or we need to take guns off the street, where's the prevention? Where's the prevention? Prevention means education and access to understanding. If we're talking about guns, so because this is all back to the sheriff, we're never going to remove weapons from the United States of America. And I say it like that because when you're talking about we need to remove weapons from this community in Louisville, Kentucky, what are y'all talking about? This is a state, United States. This is a countrywide issue. You're never going to do that. But we do need regulation, and we need regulation in a very supported way that supports the enforcement of laws. So when we look at communities and what's happening, there's weapons in homes. Are we educated? Do we have access to education? Why is it that communities that don't look like us actually are encouraged to teach their children how to use these things? Or communities that do look like us, like me, I was encouraged to learn how to use a firearm in my home. I don't run around and play with them or use them to attack anyone. I know that they're a dangerous weapon that can be used to harm someone or kill someone. But we don't have the conversation, and we say if we talk about it, we engage in it, that we're not thinking about food. Well, if I start to put the energy where we see the problem, drugs, people are using drugs, they need to be in treatment. What do? We give syringes. And people are like, you're not taking something away. Why would I take it away? My engagement starts there. People are going into recovery at the same time. People are moving into workplaces. You invest in, think about, I want you to take something, a real quick train ride with me. You got this gun range that has actual regulatory practices where people have to come into this community and actually invest in that. You put that investment in that business, it starts to overflow into the community. Now, the people that are coming in this community not going to always look like us. And the ones that do look like us, they're coming from a different mentality of how they want to interact. So you're bringing in different types of thinking folks who can influence what the community looks like. Case in point, the grocery store in Chicago that's sitting in the middle of a hood is like a mix between a marketplace. It's a marketplace, but it's like one of the rainbow. It's like a beautiful upscale grocery store with real cooking inside and all these things in a hood community because you are bringing people now into the community. So you're investing, not gentrifying. You're investing in the community. All of those things, jobs, food, all the things, housing market, it starts to come up when you bring the resources there. And sometimes it don't look like what people think. That's right. We could bring another Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Taco Bell. Why are we okay with that?
Popeyes.
Right.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Right. But why are we okay with those? But we're not okay with the things that could actually help us prevent violence. Because now you got people who are going to be teaching and having real conversations. I think that we have been trained on how to approach these kind of conversations as either or. I always believe there's a both and happening and that we will see the impact when we start to make the investment. But until we do it and we just see it as a scary thought, because other people would say, well, why would we do that? I'm like, do the research. Look at other gun ranges. Look at what you see around them.
Right. But we're gonna take a break in just a minute. We're gonna look at the last half of the ballot. But I will say, because this is Kentuckiana, a lot of us who live in the West End do a lot in Southern Indiana. And there's, 12 minutes away is a gun range that I went to that a lot of family members and friends go to because we do a lot in Southern Indiana. So there is a gun range that folks from Western Kentucky, from West Louisville go to. But we leave for a lot because it's Kentuckiana and we do stuff in Southern Indiana.
And
It's
in
not
the
that
Metro
it's
Council,
not.
and I can't wait till we get to this Metro Council piece.
Oh, absolutely. Not that I don't want to say that it's not fair. It also is an opportunity for some people who never leave the West End for anything else to leave and go somewhere other than the West End. Because we used to go to Ryan's growing up, right? Black folk, that's where we go for Sunday dinner after church. We go to Ryan's over in Southern Indiana because that's what we liked, right? We could have gone maybe down Dixie Highway to somewhere else, but that's what we liked and where we wanted to go because we're part of community. This is the Kentuckiana region.
And I may see that way. I also see it as our community doesn't hold spaces like that. That's not fair when we think of it that way. Yes, I think it's cool to be able to travel beyond and see. But is that what a common person is thinking in their community? It's not. I need us to look inward at where people are going to enjoy certain things. Why do we have to? Because we've also created a barrier that people will never be able to go and cross that bridge and go to those kind of activities. And so I think it's.
But I will say there are a lot more than maybe you would think that do because the bus TART goes to Southern Indiana, so people can go to work, right? And so people can go shop.
Why we don't have one in our community?
It hasn't been a priority. I will just say this.
They don't see the connection.
They don't
see how it's connected to what we could do. They don't see the connection. I think if you.
But I think you could, because you say common people, but that's who I grew up with. The folks who, that's what they would go do, right? So I do want to push on this because I don't know if it's that people don't see the connection because then they wouldn't go bother to go to the gun range.
Of why it makes sense to have certain things in our community to draw certain activities, resources. I think there's something there. It's the same thing as when we talk about, and we will absolutely be talking about it when we talk about Metro Council, because I know that's where a lot of weight comes from. But it's thinking about why are certain things in certain communities.
Yes. And when we ask people, because I have, as both a council member and a state representative, that's never on their list of priorities of what people want.
Because they don't see the connection to how that investment.
But there could be 1,200 other things that could be on the list, right? But what rises to the top is what people's needs are right now.
Okay, that's fair.
And I would say let's figure out how we engage and ask people what your priorities are, and maybe pitch some ideas of possibilities to say, okay, well, what if we had this? Would this be something you'd be interested in?
Right.
Because, when we look at the growth that we have, it's because people were engaged and asked, what do you want to see?
But violence continues to escalate.
It does.
And guns.
It does.
And gun violence together.
Yes. For a whole lot of reasons. When you start cutting programs for young people.
Programs are not coming back.
And which is a problem. Because too often, if you just spend any time walking around the West End, you got young folks who are left wandering. Wandering.
You see it.
Yeah.
But it tears me up that we still have to, the harm reduction lens of this is when someone is adamant on doing and acting. Yes, I can say, gosh, I want to meet the need that, you can't afford your lights in your home. We're working towards that. At the same time, I see you carrying guns every day. You don't even know how to operate that. There's no such thing as an accident. You're not accidentally shooting anyone. I've held a gun, I've used it accidentally. I have to actually trigger it. Is there improper use of it? Absolutely. Same thing with HIV. When we started syringe services, people were like, people just need to stop. Yes, absolutely. But is that what's happening?
Right.
So if I meet this need and give you a sterile syringe and show you how to use it properly, now we can deal with the other stuff. But until we deal with what's right in front of us, and prevention efforts in community, who's got it? Who's showing the improvements? And I'm not talking about prevention efforts that the city has led that skews numbers, that says it's working, and I'm asking how? How? Because I got the little app Crime Reporter, and No, it's not. So where are we at with this? It's a great conversation. It's both and, never taken away from what needs to be addressed. But I think the idea that folks in these leadership seats are really focused on changing the systems around why we don't have access to the programs and resources, those are great topics for people to sit on for 2 or 3 years while they're in seats that they're never going to move on.
And if they wanted to learn, they could go to Lexington, which has had more than 100 days of no gun deaths, over 100 days. But that's because they're meeting the holistic needs of people across community. And this city isn't learning from that.
No,
They haven't spent any in-depth time in Lexington learning from them what they're
agree with
doing.
that.
So, y'all, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, listen.
That's gonna get.
This is good. This is good. And we're going over a little bit longer than we usually do for Ask Attica, but this conversation is important. So we're going to wrap up with the other half of the ballot when we get back. Yes, that localizes it. The rest of it is almost abstract.
But
when
it helps when you do it that way.
Yeah.
Because you bring it, we started way out here. And as we get closer and closer and you see and feel the energy of it, it's like, it impacts though.
Yep.
The people at the top.
Exactly. All right, y'all. So we'll see you back here in just a moment.
The lights of Kentucky Performing Arts shine on more than our shows. They illuminate a pathway of discovery for all throughout our Commonwealth. A pathway of creativity, confidence, possibility, of brilliance, inspiration, curiosity, and wonder. For 40 years, Kentucky Performing Arts has led a pathway to unite the Commonwealth around the joy of discovering the arts, and will continue to shine this light far into the future.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Ask Attica with my special guest, Shreeta Walden. We're wrapping up our conversation about last Tuesday's primary election here in Kentucky.
Yes.
So we started from the U.S. Senate and worked our way through state level races and county level races, and now we're coming hyper local. So, Shreeta, want to start with? Actually, I'm gonna switch it. Let's start with Louisville Metro Council, and then we'll end with the Louisville mayoral race.
Okay.
So this is the first time that we've had nonpartisan mayoral and Metro Council races here in Jefferson County. And many of us did our best to educate folks about what that meant for the past few months because it was new. So let's talk about Metro Council. Now, in your district, did you have a Metro Council race?
No, I had on my. No, I didn't. I had the state rep
Okay.
of mine in mayor.
Oh, well, let's talk about state rep in yours.
Yeah, because that was what I ran for.
Yes, you did.
And
In 2024, you ran for
Yes.
state representative.
So, okay. Give this to you. I'm gonna be honest. Can I be all the way honest?
Just do it.
I just wanted the incumbent out.
Okay.
I got a chance to sit with one of the candidates, Slink. I always mess up his last name. No, y'all like, how did you vote for somebody Slaw? So I got a chance to sit with and do some work on it, a project that we're working on with the mothers of murdered sons and daughters. And honestly, I think where my blind spot is community work when I see people show up, which can hurt me at times, right? Because that can, and this is for all of us to really think about. It can tunnel my vision where having people talk to. So I think this probably would have been a good conversation before I went in to kind of talk through what I'm thinking, where I'm coming from as far as my personal thoughts and being able to see it out. So I don't think I did a good job at that with this particular race. I think I probably was disconnected too because of my own. If I'm honest, I ran for the office a couple of years ago, and I feel like the community struggles with wanting to change. So I don't think I had as much energy, and that's just, I want to model when we can have those conversations and before we get into November.
Yes.
You know, for this one, you know, it's pretty set in stone. You got the primary, so we're moving forward, right? There's no other election.
Correct.
This is her role. But when people are sitting in spaces where they are becoming jaded with their own area, so now we are bringing it really local. So I'm talking as a resident in my district, don't really understand what people are thinking and wanting, seeing concerns around the housing crisis, the rent rates that are terrible, the policies around the school system, understanding at the legislative level what Kenya Wade plans to do and sit with. Again, I'm not a type of person that says you get into office and you just become, but I guess maybe some pointers on how we as community members can connect.
Yes.
So that we can see things happen. I am glad that we are retiring the incumbent. I don't like what news media did during this election. I think that a lot of our stations took a rather awful road. And by publicly talking about people's arrest records while we have a president in office who has one longer than all the three candidates, that's not fair. So that's the first thing that I don't like that our media does, and our media needs to be held accountable for doing that. But I think it's important that we have compassion, that we have elected officials in office that do need to come off for several reasons, including health, aging, health, mental health, watching people as state Senate seats, need to come off. So I am glad. Sit down, take care of yourself, And now what are we going to do moving forward? Because this is serious.
Absolutely. And I will say I'm excited about your particular state house race for a number of reasons. One, that we just got the results of the recanvass, and again, by 5 votes, Kenya Wade won.
So,
5
voices
votes.
do count. So what we're seeing is
Man.
okay.
What?
Good.
Yes, 5 votes. So I'm excited about that. I've known Kenya for at least a decade and a half now, and appreciate the work that she does with young people, that she's leading around trying to reduce some of the violence that we're seeing. I was the council person for the district that Kenya lives in, and so we were able to do a lot of work at the local level when I served on Metro Council. Yes, so and just really appreciate the work that Kenya does.
Okay.
And she's the kind of person, yes, I think I may have tried to get y'all connected earlier this year so that y'all could talk. But she's the kind of person, she's ready. She wants to sit down with folks and have conversations, so she's open.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear that. Jaded happens, you guys. We can get jaded. I think that the lesson here for me, if I had a do-over, I do bright spots, do-overs, distractions. If I had a do-over, it would have been to reach out and to not allow my feelings to lead me, because that's real. And I think that's what hurts us in elections and during the seasons of elections, is that we don't deal with what's happening with us. And so I get to look back on it and say, so I'm glad that she's here, and I do want to. I want to. So let's go.
Absolutely. No, you're right. The people get jaded and they end up not caring. I think that's what happened with the congressional race here in Louisville for the House seat. No one ended up running because people don't even care anymore. They're like, you send somebody who votes to honor Charlie Kirk, who was supported by AIPAC. I mean, you're like, that's what the wealthy want, and that's what they have, and we're going to focus on other things. And people just don't care anymore. They're like, whatever. So Metro Council. Let's talk about Metro Council. We wanted to get into it.
There was a lot of folks.
Man.
And I had the privilege of learning about a lot of folks in their races. I was saddened by some of the decisions that were made. As I see a lot of the people who were running, Joy McAtee, April Hearn, I was hopeful because I feel like community was stepping up. I feel like what you have been preaching over a decade, about really encouraging people to get out there. I want to say that I brought some energy, being a whole new person who never done none of this, taking a risk. So I look at that as, you're right. Everyone's paying attention now. So the folks that did not win, again, we're back to that, did I win or lose? We talked about that heavily when we were together out there on walking. We won in the sense is, look at what you helped start. You got people paying attention. Now what? Because we got people in these seats. I want to talk about something real quick.
Okay.
Data centers and environmental health and environmental politics. I first want to say this. I absolutely am all about environment and what we're doing to harm our environment, unintentionally and intentionally. But I honestly think this is where the disconnect is again. We have a lot of people that are focused on flyers. I don't know if you've seen the post. Everybody's like, you got a flyer that you got AI making, and you're harming us because you're supporting data. I'm like,
yes.
Okay.
That's been going on across the country, yes.
So this is the thing.
AI flyers.
Right. It's deeper than that. So I've been engaging in some of these discussions, and I've had my moment where I've shared and said, oh, okay, so y'all not going to come to my event because it's an AI flyer, right? So I've engaged in it, but I want people to understand this. We need to go deeper. We need to understand the connection between that 800-something thousand is how many people voted, how it's connected to where data centers are placed and who makes the decision, who's talking about. I wrote this down actually for you all because it was one of the things that I wanted to really share about. Who is actually approving, who has the power to approve these projects, who influences zoning, and is the community being meaningfully involved in the input of it. So it's not so much as that Sharita's like, stop tripping. I'm not saying that. I'm saying absolutely trip. Because having something so centralized in the community that you keep saying is overly violent, go figure. Like, that's interesting, right? But to make our arguments so surface level on a flyer as your reasoning behind the dumping of, now I know it's deeper and some people will engage me in the longer conversation, tell me how much water, but I'm saying, where is your stance on how you're going to hold people accountable in the decision-making position? Now, I have a question for you. When it comes to the data centers, I know that there are larger legislative seats and political seats that have, I guess, the influence over bringing it to Kentucky. But when it comes to placement in communities, please, former State Representative Attica Scott, tell us, what should the community be doing to get heard and make movement around the data centers that are not going away? What can people do instead of arguing with each other and cutting off professional relationships because of flyers?
So I'll say a couple of things. One, it is more than flyers for people, but that's like the fruit that's right there, right? That they that they're able to grab. And I think it's a compilation of it. It's not the one person who did the flyer. It's everywhere I look, I'm seeing it, which is a lot of water being used, right? A lot of electricity being generated. And so that, I just want to put that out there, as for some people that's what they know, and that's
all they know.
That's all they know.
Right.
And so we're taking it to that next level to say, okay, so if we're looking upstream, where is the energy being sapped from? Where's the water being sapped from?
Right.
So the current telecommunications hotel that is coming to the southwest end of Louisville, not the West End. That's another issue that I've had with local media.
Yes.
It's not the West End. It's the southwest part of Jefferson County.
And Shawn Spencer, who also ran for district for councilwoman.
Yes, she did.
Shamika
District
Parrish,
3.
right? Yes. She actually shared, really helped me understand the significance and the potential danger of if something happened. So, like, I don't even think people are aware of that piece, Attica. This is another, you're going to have to give us some education.
For those of us, for those of us who are in the Rubbertown corridor, we know good and well, right? Folks who lived along the south end and the west end, they know good and well, because we've had chemical spills. We've had explosions. We know.
And this one could cause such a catastrophic. And that, to me, that's the argument I didn't hear, though, from people. So they're telling me about the water. They're telling me, I'm like, but wait a minute. Spencer over here let me know, no, I need you to understand the kilometers. Like, she went into things that so I'm like, Attica, we need to be organizing around where this thing, because it's coming.
It's coming.
Where do we need to tell them to move it?
And we need to remember that the South End is also getting Cop City.
Yes.
So the South End is getting beat up and dumped on, literally and figuratively.
Dumped on, and then you're getting a catastrophic potential. What do we want to call it? I gotta.
It's a telecommunications hotel.
Right. But I'm gonna find something.
Yes.
To call it, because you're putting all of this. Why?
Yeah.
But
in the South End, because you see the South End as the most politically vulnerable, right? That you may have the least amount of fight back and pushback, right?
So we're talking about politically vulnerable.
Yes.
We're talking about people that we vote into seats.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So you see the South End as a target, a place where I can dump everything, right? You already got Mill Creek processing plant. You see the smokestacks when you're on your way to Fort Knox, right? So you see
and buildings.
You see it, right? So don't act like you don't see it. Okay. Oh, we need a break. Like right now in this moment. Okay. All right, y'all.
It was good.
All right. We'll come back in just a moment. Okay. All right. We'll be back in just a moment with more Ask Attica. All right, y'all, welcome back to Ask Attica. We needed to do a little bit of sound adjusting. Appreciate your patience with us. So we were wrapping up this conversation about the data centers and what folks can do. So right now, with the one that's planned for Campground Road, there's potential for lawsuits. If people want to file lawsuits, right?
Oh, okay. I think that's the one Sean Spencer was talking about, the campground. Okay.
Yes. Well, no, Campground
Yeah, that
Road
is the one that we're all talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
So lawsuits for this particular site. Lawsuits, protests, right? Work stoppages. Like, there are ways that people can show up right now to try to halt this particular telecommunications hotel. Now, in the future, what we need is the moratorium that Metro Council was going to do last year that Marcus Wickler pulled back on, which should have had more of a backbone and stuck with it. We need to pass that moratorium on data centers. Before a data center can be approved, there needs to be an environmental justice impact assessment. There needs to be a health impact assessment. There needs to be assessments of these data centers before they are approved. And then you need more community input. You can't have one public hearing in the 1 o'clock in the afternoon and expect that that's enough, because it absolutely is not. And then the planning commission, we need folks serving on boards and commissions, because the planning commission is made up of people from our community.
So that's the thing. What I did not hear you say, Attica, was to completely back away and say, this is a terrible idea, I don't want to be involved.
It's a terrible idea, absolutely. And I've given people ways in which they can take action.
There. So the idea is not that we don't get involved. And I think in our efforts and in our anger and frustration, what I see from folks in the community is anger, and we need to stop. And that's as far as it goes. It's not, this is action. So I am going to create stuff on my platform now on these are the steps. Organizers, organize.
Yes.
Come together. I don't know if you saw, and I hope you did, because I don't know if we have enough time for me to search it again, but there was a community in Louisville that pushed back on a apartment complex. Opening up.
Yes.
And it didn't happen.
Yes. Yeah, that's happened quite a few times. I know one was in the outer loop area. Yes.
I mean, the community came together.
Yes.
They went around and they advocated. And
not in our backyard.
Not in our backyard. And it didn't happen.
Right.
That's what you do with anger.
Yes.
Just because you see people not responding like you on social media is an avenue, and we can utilize social media, and I think we should. At the same time, look at what's happened all around us. People will come together in certain communities. It's not a such thing, and I want to be very clear and blatant about this. Stop making it surface just as in white people do this, black people do this. No. Strategic people do this. People who lack strategy don't. And that's what I want our community to do.
Yes.
Let's get strategic. Don't come against each other. When I talk about distraction, the low-hanging fruit is a distraction, and it actually separates us. What we're supposed to do is say, you know what, we all agree that environment is important to us. We all agree with that we've seen over years, especially the residents who have grown up here in Louisville, have seen what's happened to our communities when they don't listen to us and they bring things that hurt our environment, how it impacts our health and well-being. Right. We know that that's problematic. So what can we do instead of just saying no? Strategy. No and. This is what we need. I love planning committees. Yes. I love people having committees. Community advisor, I have one. Community, and I have two. A peer advisory board and a community advisory board. That should be the expectation. Right. Your Metro Council leaders. Now, is this where Metro Council, you talk to your Metro Council leaders too about the people you put in office,
yes,
the people who you said represent, the people that you advocated and rallied for and elected, right? These folks.
So a couple of things. One is I'm going to send you the 2 Substack articles I wrote about the telecommunications hotel and ways in which people can take action.
Yes.
Lay those out, so I'll send those.
And we can share those.
Absolutely. The other thing I will say is Metro Council members need to have a backbone. Whether this is coming to your district or not, you should be speaking up and using your voice and your platform. And especially if it's coming to your district, you should be using your platform to speak up.
That's my frustration. Back to the word demand. Instead of coming at each other and attacking each other for using something that we've been given access to, we should be coming for our Metro Council leaders. And that to me is where we get the biggest movement. Like, these are the opportunities that we have for accountability. If you feel passionate about any topic or anything that is frustrating you in this city, you have the people, and almost 900,000 people in this city said you heard it and you understand it. So now I'm holding everybody accountable.
That's right. Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. So, so that's Metro Council, and then you want to talk about mayor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I saw some people took a chance and posted their ballots.
Okay.
We still got folks that voted for the current mayor. And it's interesting because it's people who are angry about the data centers and angry about the violence and angry about everything else and still voted for Mayor Greenberg.
Whose friend Steve Poe is pushing the data center.
Did y'all hear that? I'm confused. Attica, first, I wanted to talk about that. That first of all, people had the audacity and the gall. People who look like me. People who work in spaces of advocacy and influence. I'm sitting here like, people who have names. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, is it that much more hate?
Nothing surpasses the desire for white gaze, proximity to white political power. Nothing surpasses that desire. Nothing surpasses that desire. Yes.
I am.
All right, let me let you.
I mean, we literally
call me. Come at the 5.
Had the whole idea of the two.
At the 5, please.
Get up, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. We literally had. We literally had anger up to Derby. Then people took a break from their anger and frustration and celebrated Derby. Then we picked back up.
Yes.
We've acknowledged vocally, like all over the place, that he is not meeting the needs of the community. He's ignoring at this point. The consent decree, like he's completely, and yet,
he's trying to prop it up to where pretty soon here he's going to find an excuse to get rid of the lead for the monitoring group.
Oh yeah,
right.
I've had the pleasure of meeting those individuals for the ACLU and
the community commitments. And he's going to use council members to make that happen, right? He gets council members to attack Alifa so that then you start to sow seeds of doubt in the city for Alifa and its work, and then eventually he's going to say, "Oh, the people have spoken; they really don't want them here." Yes.
So, this is my thing. Very close. We saw in the primaries. It's the last. You have the last numbers for Councilwoman Parish Wright and the mayor.
I probably can look it up quickly. I don't have it on my fingertips.
Okay, so as I'm sitting here reflecting, there are so many reasons why we don't want the same mayor in office, and we can list those. We can just pull several of Ask Attica's spots on some of the legislation and policies and decisions that have been made over the last couple of years. We can just pull that and put that up front. I think it's the reasons why I want to focus on with Councilwoman Parish Wright. Okay, so what are those final numbers? All right. We got a gap, and we need to close this gap.
Yes.
I'm hopeful though that at the end of the day, I'm gonna say is, and we're not doing predictions, and this is totally a Shreeta thing. Like, can you weigh 5? I think it's gonna be close. The reason why I would vote for a candidate like Councilwoman Parish Wright is that she's made it easy for me to see what working, following up, being accountable, showing up, consistent. And when I say accountability, even when you haven't, you miss a mark, being able to come back and address, someone who can demonstrate the qualifiers. If you were to take, so we have key performance indicators, and I think I'm gonna do one for her.
Okay.
And I'm gonna post it and I'm gonna share it. And what key performance indicators are things that we use in our agency to track what our people are doing and to also show them, look at the great work you're doing. It also helps us justify raises and incentives of moving forward if you want to be promoted, things like that. So we all have some because it's a way for us to help you see the work you do and the value of our organizations, right? If you look at the key performance indicators for a role that oversees the local government, in Councilwoman Parrish Wright's role as a council person, she's already meeting or exceeding her performance indicators. How? Well, the way she shows up at her council meetings, actually having a call-in line where she has an assistant who actually follows up and then they produce. Not saying that this is a financial, but they produce in the access to resources. They produce in how to get those resources or bringing those resources to Metro Council. Advocating for the needs of the community in which the community is speaking on.
Yeah.
So not, because people will say, well, I have things, but I want you to pay attention. If the community is addressing issues, she's going to discuss those issues, which is a harm reduction lens of meeting people where they're at.
That's right.
That's what Councilwoman and her team has demonstrated in this role. When I see someone who can operate in their role efficiently,
Yes.
and if I'm their supervisor, because remember, the mayor's role, we are like your supervisor. We are.
Yes.
We're the ones who get to say you're fired.
That's right.
And when I look at the key performance indicators of the current role, I'm not seeing that the listening of the city, even when it comes down to violence, when his experience that he said he experienced being a target of gun violence in his opinion and through his lens, he still didn't live up to his own decisions of what he was going to do. So I'm like, what are we basing our votes on? And the only thing I can come to is proximity to whiteness.
Yes.
And power. And the whiteness that's in power. So what do we need to do to ensure that we flip this seat come November? And that we have a candidate who becomes the actual mayor, who is going to be accountable, who's going to actually fulfill the role that position has listed, and meet the outcomes. Because I can also hear from people that yes, she's an effective leader as an executive director for the organization, and that is very minute considering the mayor's role. So some people may not be able to, especially people with privilege and power and access to money, they may see, I don't have anything to do with houseless people.
Okay. So
There's some people that could.
No, I agree. No,
right.
Here's the thing, and I know we got to wrap up because I also
Right.
have to get on the road to drive to London, Kentucky. So, a few things. One is, what did the current mayor bring for experience to the role, except to support a very racist, dehumanizing piece of art at 21C that had a white man riding a black man's back?
Yeah.
And y'all act like y'all forget that origin story, and they're like, well, whoop-de-doo, you know, at least he's white, so we're gonna vote for him for mayor. So that's the experience he brought. So,
That is.
So that can't possibly be what you want to sustain our city. So that means you have the opportunity to vote for Councilwoman Shreeta Parrish Wright, who actually is coming with political experience as a city council member. So vote for Councilwoman Shreeta Parrish.
Who has it on the record?
Mayor. Yes, exactly. And I will say this. within 24 hours of last Tuesday's primary election, she got more than 100 people who wanted to sign up to volunteer and over 125 people who wanted a yard sign. So some people were waiting for the primary, right? Because some people, that's just how they do.
Right.
The primary is over and it's time to get ready for November 3rd, which means that people have the chance now to step up and say, you know what? I made a mistake in the primary in voting for the current mayor. I'm going to vote for Shreeta Parrish, right? And I'm also going to help do the work to get her elected. Phone calls, donating, knocking on doors, putting up a yard sign, getting a t-shirt, showing up at events. There's so much that you can do to ensure that that victory happens.
And for those of you that sit on that line, I want to be clear because I see what's happening. I see the billionaire role being planned. And there's a lot of people in power and influence. I have a really good friend who's left this country because he cannot be a part of what's happening under the federal administration. But there was one thing we talked about as far as meeting people where they are. And I want to say this. I know that a lot of Councilwoman Parrish Wright advocacy and efforts has centered around marginalized people. And you may find yourself sitting on the margin because you're not included in the marginalized. So I'm going to tell you this. When someone can focus on helping the communities transition into spaces where they don't have to sleep on the street, ensuring that funds are there, you can feel safe walking down the street. You can feel safe and feel like you can invest in communities that are lowering crime rates because there is being investment to those communities. You want someone in leadership who is thinking about you being able to feel as comfortable as you want. So if you want a city built on comfort, built on prestige, built on access to privilege, she's for you too. Understand when she takes care of the people who seem to be causing distraction, causing problems, it makes your life better. And I don't think people know how to have those kind of conversations to get the people who are looking at this from a space of privilege. That's right. To understand when you take care of those people, you are actually being taken care of.
That's it right there.
And I think that's important, which is why I want to see someone like her be in that role. We can actually all see all of our lives mattering in that moment.
That's right. No, that's powerful. And I will say this as we close out, because I do need to go get on the road. That as we get ready for November 3rd, which is really going to end up being right around the corner.
It is.
We need people to get registered to vote.
Yes.
If y'all want to get registered to vote, I'll be here Friday, June 19th from 12 to 1 doing that. We need people to have the opportunity to engage with the candidates, so the candidates can show up here as well. And we need people to, if you support someone, get involved in their community.
Yes.
Because sitting on the sidelines is not an option.
Yeah.
That's not going to get your candidate elected. What will get them elected is if you do something. You can do one thing a month, whatever that something may be. Donate $5 a month, you've done something. So that's important. The other thing I would say is shout out to DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America local chapter, because Andrea Parr advanced out of the primary election for Metro Council, and she was a DSA endorsed candidate. Robert Bell won the primary election for state representative. He's a DSA endorsed candidate. Councilwoman Shreeta Parrish Wright advanced out of the mayoral race and is headed to the November ballot, and she was a DSA endorsed candidate. And I just want to say DSA is doing the thing, and y'all need to pay attention. Thank you so much, Shreeta Walden, for being here as guest.
The candidates, I want to share with you, and I'm going to share with Attica so she can post it.
Okay.
For the people that voted for candidates that showed up to our event, the mayoral candidates, and they are not there, I need you all to support. If you supported them, you are absolutely in alignment to support Councilwoman Parrish Wright. I want to share the names, so I'm going to make sure I go back and check with Jennifer Twyman of who showed up, because I think that's important. Those numbers.
Actually, all of them.
All of them.
Folks.
Yes, all of them,
of
and
folks?
especially those. All of them,
Yes.
but the ones that absolutely to know that they had a following of people, and they are a part of this work too, to get their people to now show up. So we can actually do a lot of work around it. So getting all these folks, absolutely, that's going to be key. Yeah, I think
That's over 10,000 votes right there.
right there.
That's over
That's
15,
yeah.
10,000.
If we look at every breakdown, you guys, we got some power.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, Shreeta, as
you.
always, for joining me for
Yes.
this conversation. Y'all, we'll see you Juneteenth, and we'll also see you on Election Day on November 3rd. But we'll be talking a lot about elections leading up to November 3rd. As always, thank you to our producer, Say Live Streams. Hey, who's going to work with us on compiling the Civics in 60 videos into a package. Thank you to Black Coffee for allowing us to use the space for the Ask Attica podcast. And remember the jingle. If you got any ideas for a jingle that you want to submit, Shreeta said,
I got you.
Whichever one we choose, we'll get a
Yes,
meal.
a black
for
coffee.
All right, thanks, y'all. See you next time.
Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, former Kentucky State Representative.
They're asking me about everything, local, state, federal, all the time. How do I do this? How do I do that? Why can't I get a speed hump? What's going on with the consent decree? Hey y'all, welcome to Ask Attica. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning.